Hey, what's going on, flight simmers? My name is Roro, and today we have a very quick update coming from PMDG on the 737 NG3. But before we do quickly get into this update, I just want to quickly say make sure you do click on that like, subscribe and ding dong that notification bell, because it really does help support our channel. We are slowly aiming towards that 1000 subscriber mark, so it would mean the world if you do click on that subscribe button for us. So let's get into this video. Now, this video is going to be very quick because it isn't much of an update, but it is still something for us to see progress on the aircraft. So basically last night, Robert Randazzo did something which we completely didn't expect and haven't seen from PMDG at all before. PMDG actually showed us some in-sim raw images of the product which they are releasing as a development update, which is a very uncommon thing to hear from PMDG, as they usually only release 1 or 2 major updates before releasing a product, and never really show a development update of a work in progress product. Now, I do have to say these images have not been edited, and they are actually side-by-side comparisons of Microsoft Flight Simulator and P3D V5. By the looks of it, the conditions are fairly similar in terms of weather and everything, so looking at it, it should be a very fair comparison between both platforms. So the first image, it is just absolutely stunning, and it just really shows how powerful Microsoft Flight Simulator is in terms of the lighting, colouring and even the sharpness of the sim as well, which is a very obvious trait of Microsoft Flight Simulator, I do admit. So we can see that the systems seem to be fairly complete. We don't have any words on the actual systems itself, but visually they look absolutely amazing, and side by side from the complete product in P3D V5, they look practically the same really. There's one noticeable difference, and that is the actual variant itself in terms of the cockpit. The cockpit in the Microsoft Flight Simulator seems to be an all-glass cockpit, meaning that it is all digital instruments, whereas the one in P3D V5 still has some analog backup instruments on the right-hand side. But I think the best part about seeing the Microsoft Flight Simulator is seeing all of the shadows and all the lighting reflecting off of each other. The PBR texturing inside of a cockpit looks just about perfect really, especially on the glass cockpit. You can also see all the clear shadows from the yoke inside of the aircraft, just creating that silhouette on the eCam screens as well, and it looks absolutely amazing, unlike the 737 in P3D, where everything seems to be either on one end of the scale being too bright, or the other end being that it's not dark enough. Moving on to the next image, we can really see where Microsoft Flight Simulator comes into play because of all the advanced lighting. Now if we can look at the bottom of the image where the trim wheel is, we can actually see how powerful Microsoft Flight Simulator is over Prepared 3D. Prepared 3D looks like it's a floodlight just emitting light from the parking brake. Whereas in Microsoft Flight Simulator you can see where the light is a bit more dimmed, which is more realistic and is bouncing off all the different components, including the trim wheel and the center pedestal. Now moving on into the final image, we can see a crew member PBE or crew member protective equipment, and these raw images just shows how much of a difference Microsoft Flight Sim really has over Prepared 3D. Prepared 3D looks ridiculously dark, and it's so dark that we're starting to get a bit of noise in the actual image, whereas in Microsoft Flight Sim it is very well balanced in terms of lighting and the shadows as well, as you can see on top of the PBE. The other thing which I want to point out is the sharpness. Just by looking at the image itself without zooming it in, we can already see and feel how much sharper the image is. Like even then, it looks like a 3D model in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, that the flap is actually on top of the main box, whereas in the Prepared 3D, it is just a static image on a 3D box. Now I don't know what resolution Robert is running his game at, but all I have to say is even if he's running it at 4K or 1080p, it looks absolutely amazing. You cannot fault the modelling and even the texturing on the 737. Even then, looking even further back, we can see the PBR texturing on the jacket rail behind the box, where the reflections aren't too much and it's just absolutely perfect. So moving towards the post, Robert does state that what we are currently viewing will not be the finished product because it is still in major development. He also states that they are currently addressing some animation issues, lighting issues and large swaths in the cockpit which are being retextured to bring their light reflective and refractive and texture qualities up to the full capability of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Basically, he's trying to say that they're trying to improve all the texturing and PBR texturing so they can take advantage of the Microsoft Flight Simulator platform. Now, along with this, they are still aiming for a 2021 release. However, with the current issues he is stating, I am becoming less optimistic of a 2021 release, and most likely it will lean towards a 2022, hopefully a Q1. But even then, it could push into a Q2 depending on how much of an issue these bugs and issues are. So that's it guys, I know this video is a very short one and there isn't actually that much to look at, but to be honest I am just so excited to see some in-sim raw screenshots which has had no editing done to them. It really allows us to get an idea of where the aircraft really is, because you can obviously edit an image and make it look 10 times better even though it may be nowhere near complete. But other than that guys, I'm going to have to end this video now because there's nothing else to really talk about. My name is Roro and you have been watching Information Alpha.